Okay, let's begin first by asking for our Father's presence. Let's kneel, please. Father in heaven, we just come to you at this appointed time. We acknowledge, Father, that we are sinners and that our understanding is very limited. But Father, you've given us your word, you've given us your beloved Son. And we thank you for this precious gift. We just pray that you'll be with us, that your Spirit will be here with us, and that you'll teach us the things you want us to learn. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. So my topic for this morning is to help to calculate the calendar. So primarily what we're interested in today is Leviticus chapter 23. So let's open our Bibles and start from there. And I'm reading it, aren't I? Okay, starting from verse 1, it says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying..." So note, who's speaking here? Okay, so this is God's command or instruction to Moses. He says, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest, and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings." Is that clear? Do you understand that? It seems simple, doesn't it? And I believe the Lord's instructions are simple, but for whatever reason, it comes back to that question, how readest thou? And there's certain passages we're going to look at today. I've looked at them in a certain way for a good part of my life, and then I've been challenged to say, what about looking at it this way? I've gone, oh yeah, that does make sense. So I'm going to be doing some of that with you today. And I'm not saying I have it all right, but I'm asking us to consider it, to look at it, and to maybe we can go on this journey together.
Amen.
Because, if it's clear, the Lord wants us to understand his timetable, does he not?
Yeah.
That's why he gave it to Moses. So let's read on. Verse 4. "These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at Eve is the Lord's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread." Now, to our understanding and reckoning, today is this day. This is the self-same day we're talking about. But as we read this in the King James Version, as good and as much as I love my King James Version, there's things that are being said here that are not standing out. They're not evident. And that's why I've asked Simon to write some of these things up. Hopefully you can see them. But they have a meaning. And they've used different words, the same Hebrew word, and they've translated them into different words in the English. And my English is very limited at the best of times, so I'm really confused. So we're going to hopefully go through and look at some of these words and try to understand what instruction the Lord was giving to Moses. But maybe before we dig in too deep, we'll do a bit of an overview and get the whole context, and then we'll go back and flesh it out a bit more. Okay, so in the verse 7, in the first day ye shall have a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. This is what Debbie was referring to. It doesn't mean to say you can't prepare food, okay? It's actually what it's saying is lay aside your normal work and come together for an appointed meeting. This is what it's telling us. And it says, and then it goes into the offerings. You shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. And the 7th day is a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. Okay, so again, it's giving us a bit of a distinction. In these times we have here, there are 2 particular days that are of importance. And it's today, and which was the other important day? The last day, or this, in 7 days' time. So this is the feast, or the appointed time of unleavened bread. Okay, so we might skip some of these other things. Let's go to verse 9. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye be come into the land which I give unto you, ye shall reap the harvest thereof, and ye shall bring a sheaf of first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. So what are they bringing? So what's a sheaf? What would you call it?
Yeah, bundle.
A bundle of what?
Grain.
Okay, the grain that is ripe, and we'll talk about this. We'll go into this a little more.
Yes, remembering it's northern hemisphere timing.
Yes, not the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, so you might have different things in Australia coming first.
So with this in mind, they're bringing a sheaf. Now, the purpose of the sheaf, what do they do with this sheaf? Do you know? We'll read about it. They wave it before the Lord. Okay. Okay, and you shall wave verse 11, yeah, and you shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. And ye shall offer that day, when you wave the sheaf, a lamb without blemish for the first year for a burnt offering unto the Lord. And then it goes into the meat offerings, which Adrian's been talking about, the flour and the oil and the drink offering. But we haven't got time to look at all that, okay? We're looking at the calendar primarily this morning. Let's go to verse 15. And it says, And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. We're going to spend a bit of time here, okay? There's need to talk about these passages. But I'm not ignoring them. I'm just wanting to get the big picture, and we'll come back to this, okay? But you understand, from the waving of the sheep offering, there's going to be what? 7 Sabbaths, which is, and then the day after is 50 days, which brings us to what we call Pentecost. The Jews call Shabbat, or some name.
Jubilee?
Sorry?
Jubilee?
No, it's not Jubilee. It's a Festival of Weeks. Okay, so they then have some instructions here, and they're interesting. We might look at them if we have time later. But let's then go down to verse 20. And the priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before the Lord. With 2 lambs, they shall be holy to the Lord for the priests. And you shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be a holy convocation unto you. Ye shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. So this is talking about which day again? Pentecost, as we understand it. And it's regarded as what? A holy convocation, okay? Again, no servile work. So now let's move down a few more verses to verse 23, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the Sabbath, shall you have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation. So what day is this? Trumpets. Feast of Trumpets, and it was on what?
First day of the 7th month.
First day of the 7th month. Okay, we'll come back and have a bit more look at this. Skipping down now to verse 27. Also on the 10th day of the 7th month, there shall be a holy convocation unto you. A what? Okay. Unto you, and ye shall what? Afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. So this sounds very much similar, doesn't it, to the other days we've looked at? It's not. I'll tell you now. It's a very different day. It sounds similar in part, but there's something here about afflicting one's soul. Okay, but let's read on a bit more. And ye shall do no work in that same day. Sorry? No servile work?
No.
Okay, just so you pick up on us. No work. For it's a day of atonement, to make atonement for you before the Lord. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it be that doth any work in that same day, that soul will I destroy from among his people. Sounds pretty harsh, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. And then God says this. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest. And ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even. From even unto even ye shall celebrate your Sabbath. So do you understand when this is to happen? So it begins on the night of the 9th, and it goes through till the night of the 10th. Okay? So we understand that. Okay, so let's go down now to verse 34. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles, for 7 days unto the Lord. So this happens on which day?
15th.
Of the same month. Okay, so, and it goes here, on the 1st day shall be a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you. And ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. These are the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering, a meat offering, a sacrifice, and drink offerings, everything upon this day. And then it goes on with some more instructions, which maybe we don't need to look at, but just want to read the last verse. And Moses declared unto the children of Israel the feasts of the Lord. So I want to start here and just using eSword to pull up the Hebrew words. And if you've got it on your phones or tablets, you can do that and help me. Okay, so when it says here, and Moses declared unto the children of Israel the feasts of the Lord, the word feasts is here. It's this moed. And it has a meaning. It means appointed. Okay? It means feasts. It means meetings. But King James has translated a lot of the time as congregation. And you're going, how's that work? It sort of, in my mind, it blurs what it's actually telling me. So these are the appointments. Whether it's the word feast, but these are appointments. These are appointed times. And what it's meaning by this, these are times that God is calling Israel, those who claim to be under the blood of Prince Emmanuel, he's calling them together for an appointed meeting.
Just a point, Craig. One thing I observed is that whether the English translators meant it this way, but the word moed can mean the timing of something or what you do at that time, which is to congregate.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's complicated, isn't it?
Not just when, it's what.
It's when and what. Yeah. So as you're going through, these words have great meaning, and they're translated a little bit different at times, and you go, oh, okay. So just keep this in mind. So now we're going to go back and start from the beginning. Back to Leviticus 23, and we'll begin in verse 2. Okay, it says, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them," concerning is a supply of words, by the way, "the feasts, the moed, okay, of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim holy convocations, these my feasts." The rest are supplied words, okay? These are my appointments. Okay, so we've got that, and then he begins in verse 3. Where does he begin?
Sabbath.
So is the Sabbath an appointment?
Yep.
So it's an appointment. It's a time we understand as Adventists, right? It's a time to come together, is it not? It's God has called us at this time to come together and to worship and praise Him. Okay? So it then outlines 6 days shall you do work. Okay, let's go. Work shall be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath. This word Sabbath is this word here. It's very important to note this, okay? Because this is where we run into a bit of confusion as we go through these passages. Okay? So when it's talking about the 7th day Sabbath, it's referring to this word, Shabbat. And you go through with your Strongs and you look up these words, okay? And it's a Shabbat of rest, which is this word here, Sabbaton. It's a Shabbat of Shabbaton, the Sabbath of rest.
Yep.
Okay? It's a holy convocation. Did we put it up there? Here it is. Convocation. Mikra, is it? I don't know how you pronounce that. I abuse the English language. I'm sure I'm going to do terrible things to Hebrew. And ye shall do no work. It is the Sabbath. Shabbaton.
Shabbat or Shabbaton?
Shabbat, sorry. Shabbat. Yeah, I'm confusing myself. It's the Shabbat. And then it goes to verse 4. It says, these, the feasts, the what?
Moed.
The Moed of the Lord, holy convocations, Mikra, which ye shall proclaim in their
Moed.
Seasons. So what are these seasons? How do we determine where we begin with these seasons? What does it say? Let's go on. It says now in the what? 14th, not days a supplied word, of the first month, which is what? Which is
Top one.
top one. This is a very, very interesting word. The Hebrew for month is what? New moon. That's what it means. When you read in the King James and it's using this word, it's saying in the new moon. It's not any point in the month. Well, it is. It's at the new moon.
So does that mean that in Jewish you have 13 months a year?
Some months, some years, yes. Not every year. And we'll hopefully get to some of this. So yes, so here it is. So in the 14th of the first Moed, at Eve, the Lord's Passover. Okay, so we need to look at this a little bit clearer, and to do this, we need to go now to Exodus. Come with me to Exodus, chapter 12, and see what God told Moses at this time. I need to go there here too. Okay, and I'll read it off the screen here. It says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses," verse 1, "and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month," this what? New moon. And I'll read up the King James, but it is added words, "shall be unto you the beginning of new moons." This one. So the one that God brought to Moses was to be the first of the new moons for what he called now the Jewish year. Okay, and then it goes through and outlines to them what their duties were to be. To take hold of a lamb and to so I want to now go down a bit further. I think it's verse 13. Nope. Where is it? I need to look in my Bible.
14 unleavened bread?
No, I'm looking for.
You're not looking for 13:4.
No, I think I know what it is. It's further down. Keep going.
Are you looking for it then?
Yeah.
13:4.
I know it's there too. I thought it was further in 12.
It is in 12 and 13.
Yeah, I'm looking for it in 12. I think it's in, here it is, verse 18. Okay. Exodus 12:18, it says, "In the first month of the 14th day." The word month is a supplied word here. Okay. So in the first of the 14th day of the month, which is the new moon, at eve, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month. No, that's not the one I'm thinking of either.
No.
It must be in chapter 13.
13:4.
Yeah. Okay, let's go now to 13:4. Okay, this day came ye out in the month of what? Abib. This is this word down the bottom here. It's the name of the month. Okay? And that's what we think. It's just the name of the month. But do you know what it means? It's got a lot of meaning. That's what it says, to be tender, green, young ear of grain. In the month, the grain is forming in the head is Abib. That's what this month means. So this is the first month of the year. So when they are calculating their calendar, it has everything to do with this. The barley, the grain coming into head. If the grain is not coming into the head, how can they proceed to the mowing? They can't. Because on the 15th day, in that time of unleavened bread, there's a wave offering. What was in the wave offering?
Darling.
The barley, the grain. And that grain, what did that sheep symbolize? Yeah, what's the first fruits?
The resurrection. Jesus himself.
Isn't Christ the first fruits? So this is a symbolism of Christ rising from the dead in victory over sin. So this is quite an important. It ties in with what we understand in the New Testament. This is the children of Israel were taught it in symbol in the wilderness and in the promised land. So with this Abib, this is showing us it's in the month of the grain coming into ear. This is the first of the year for the children of Israel. This is when they begin their year. And for some reason, and we might not have time to go across all of this, but for some reason, if the grain is not coming into ear, they put it off to the next new moon.
That was their leap year.
That's their leap year. And it is a leap month, isn't it? It actually is a whole month. Where we have a leap year, and what do? We add a day.
So Craig, did they add the month prior and then still call the next one a bib, or did they have a bib and then add a next one?
No, they added it, and then a bib starts when the bib cannot start until the grain is nearly ready for harvest.
The 12th month is Adar, and if they have to put in another month, it's second Adar. Because in the lunar calendar you have 354 days, which is short by about 10, 11 days, 10 days, 10, 11 days, and so every third year you're typically going to have a 13th month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So keep this in mind when you just even read these passages, and it's here in Exodus. It tells us about these dates. Also, Exodus 23. Let's go to Exodus 23, and it's verse 15. Exodus chapter 23, verse 15. It says, "Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread," and then it's in brackets, "and thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee in the time appointed."
Moed.
Okay. So when's that time appointed? The 14th day of Abib. Okay. And of the month of Abib, again, the month is what? New moon. And yeah, none shall appear before me empty. So this is what God has asked for to come. So just to understand, the beginning of the year began with the barley coming into head, and it was then the next new moon began the cycle for the year. And then as into the 14th day, they would be able to take some first fruits and offer it before the Lord when we come to this passage. So we'll go back now to Leviticus 23 and continue on from there. Okay, so let's go to verse 6, start again. It says, and on the 15th day of the same month, new moon, the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. Leviticus 23, verse 6. So on the 15th day of the same month, the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord, 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. And then it says in verse 7, the first day you shall have a holy convocation. A what? Holy mikra. You shall do no servile work therein. So why do we, is there a reason that we regard this as a Shabbat? Do you regard this day as the same as this day?
Same instruction.
And look, I have in my mind, but there's a difference, okay? There's not a lot of difference. Well, there is a lot, but there is a difference. What did it say? You shall do what? So God is surrounding it, right, and protecting it, but there is a difference. And the language used here is showing there's a difference. And that's what I'm trying to bring to you. It's important to see this. Okay? So let's go to verse 8. And you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. In the 7th day, a holy convocation. A what? Okay, so
Kodesh Mikra.
a mikra. And shall do no servile work. Okay, so that's reasonably clear, isn't it? Let me find it in here. Okay, let's go now down to verse 10. It says, now, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye come into the land which I give unto you, you shall reap the harvest thereof. You shall bring a sheaf of the first fruit of your harvest unto the priest. So you understand, this wasn't required until when they got into Promised Land. Okay. Verse 11, and ye shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you on the morrow after the Shabbat. Now, are you catching why I'm making an emphasis on these words?
Yes.
Sorry?
It's not the convocation, it's after the Sabbath.
It's after the Sabbath.
Not the convocation.
And in my mind, I've always understood, because the first day of unleavened bread, I regard it as a Sabbath. In my...
As a Shabbat.
Yeah, as a Shabbat, but as a Sabbath, I'm Australian, okay? Well, I'm not, I'm a Kiwi with a confused identity. But the two are one, and they're not the same. There are slight differences. It's not regarded as the same, and God's telling us clearly here. He's used different words. He's saying, verse 11, and ye shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you on the morrow after the Shabbat. The priest shall wave it. So what's the morrow after the Shabbat? Where I always understood it, it was always the day after the first day of unleavened bread. And that's when I would start doing my calculations. But because it moves around, it's not always going to be the same day, is it? Because the Sabbath moves in this calendar. There will be at least one seventh day Sabbath in this week. At least one. Yeah, but there's only necessarily one Shabbat.
2 mikvahs, but 1 Shabbat.
In this appointed time, that's how it is. So this then allows us to, how then do we follow through to calculate when the next feast is? Because unless we have this correct, we're going to end up with 2 different dates.
Now I understand what the confusion's about.
That's why we wanted to have this discussion.
But likewise, even the beginning of picking the beginning of the year, it's associated, even in the language of the Bible, to the barley harvest. It's not in any way associated to what we now call
Equinox.
the equinox.
Vernal equinox.
Yeah, well, whichever equinox you want to go by, the equinox. It's not linked to the equinox. It's linked to the barley harvest. And with that in mind, as Adrian shared, I think it was the first night. I can't remember which night it was. It must have been. I wasn't here last night. But the beginning of the 2,300 year prophecy began when? 457 BC. And that date was set out and appointed by which calendar? The Jewish calendar, using the barley harvest. And likewise, the Adventist pioneers, they came to realize that the ending of that harvest, or ending of that prophecy, was they also calculated using the barley harvest. That's how they came to October 22, 1844. And that's what we're saying. Is this how we should be reckoning? And look, do more study, but this is what we're seeing as we're looking now at these passages. So let's go through a bit further with this. So here we are in verse 11. Let's move on now to verse 15. Leviticus 23, verse 15. Now, maybe I'll go to verse 14. It says, "And ye shall eat bread, not parched corn, nor ears, until the self same day that ye brought an offering unto God." And the supplied words, shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. Now, what is this talking about? Excuse me. We need to turn our phones off.
Thank you for the reminder.
It's embarrassing, isn't it?
Only if you want it to be. Yeah, yes. Oh, hello.
So bread. What is bread? You know what that is, don't you? And where are we? We're in the feast of unleavened bread. So we're not to eat unleavened bread till when?
Not to eat leavened bread. We're not to eat leavened bread.
You sure?
Should never eat.
Read it again. It says. Sorry. No, we're going down further. But it's just saying here, ye shall not eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the self same day. Which day is that? That ye have brought an offering unto God. It's the wave offering. You're not meant to eat bread or parched corn, and we'll talk about this, until after the wave offering.
So it's the new.
That's verse 14 of chapter 23.
Are you allowed to eat of your old grain before that?
That's the parched corn.
Okay, that's what I want to talk about. That's right on the spot. But we'll flesh it out a bit more for the rest who might not have picked that up. It's saying to us that we are not to eat the corn or the parched grain, which is grain that's green. It's like Craig, it's got a fridge, up in the fridge up there, there's a fridge full of parched corn.
I ate much that already.
Sorry?
I ate a lot of it already.
You've eaten it all.
A lot of it. Leave some for me.
But it's tender, okay? And they roasted it in fire, and that's what they called. They used to eat the barley. It hadn't fully hardened off as hard wheat to make bread with, but it's nice and sweet. And they would roast it, and then they would eat it. It was a delicacy for them. And this is what it's saying: we're not to eat this food until after the wave offering, until Christ has risen.
He's our bread of life.
He's the bread of life. But what this is saying is, but it says earlier on, and maybe we won't go there, I'll refer to it, that from the beginning of the Passover they were to eat unleavened bread. The day they ate the Passover lamb, they were to eat unleavened bread. Well, it seems a contradiction. So you're not, and you can. But what it's saying, and maybe we should go there, it's maybe not a good verse, but it's Joshua 5. Keep your finger here, we'll come back. Joshua 5. Verse 11. And it says, and they did eat the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes and parched corn in the self-same day.
So that would be from the previous years.
It's the previous year's crop. And what it's saying is the new season's crop, we weren't meant to eat, we weren't meant to partake of it until it's been waved before the Lord. That's what I understand that's to say. I mean, you can do more study, but that's what I got from reading that passage, because it just seemed a contradiction. You weren't to eat, but you were to have unleavened bread when you ate the Passover lamb.
So we're waiting on Sunday? This Sunday? Is that Sunday?
Yes. Yes.
So we should not be eating corn until Sunday?
If you're following that to a literal fulfillment, yeah. I guess, Danny, we're looking at it, trying to look at this more at this point in time at the spirit of it.
Okay.
Whether we follow it as a literal way, I'm
I'm
not
wondering
sure.
where you're going with it.
No, I'm not going there. I'm just trying to show the lessons of what they did and the significance of it. Okay?
There must be health benefits.
Yeah.
They could be.
Yes.
And again, I think it's more. Yes, Debbie.
And a week without yeast a year.
Yes, it's definitely a week without yeast. Yes, Craig.
I'm getting a little bit confused. And when we eat the unleavened bread, when they were to eat the unleavened bread
Yes.
with the Passover lamb, wasn't that from the previous
That's
harvest?
what we're talking about. It's the old grain.
Yeah.
It's not the new grain. And from what I'm reading here in this verse in Leviticus 14, you shall eat neither bread nor parched corn nor green ears until the same day that ye brought an offering unto God. So they weren't to partake of the current season's crop until they brought it before the Lord. And God is blessing.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm reading here. Okay, so to them they knew what day to do this on, did they not? And as we've seen, it was the day after the Shabbat, not the day after the Mikra.
And that makes sense because Christ was raised after the Sabbath.
Okay, so and this is what I find interesting. It doesn't matter what happened in this Passover or week of unleavened bread. The symbolism shows that the first fruits were always brought out on the first day after the Sabbath.
So always on a Sunday.
Always on a Sunday.
Never on a Sunday.
And it shows that Christ, in this type and symbol, you can see that Christ was going to rest on the Sabbath and he was going to be raised on Sunday.
Did you say it was always on Sunday?
Always.
This
This is what.
year it won't be. What do you mean?
Yeah, and this is what we're working through, Debbie. We're trying to see, and we'll go back maybe. We'll just go back. Verse 11. Okay, verse 11. Let's just go through it again. 23:11. And you shall wave the sheaf of first fruits. We're talking about before the Lord to be accepted for you on the morrow after the Sabbath or the Shabbat. Not after The Mikra.
No. So
So the first day of unleavened bread was regarded as a Mikra, the convocation. And the last day, it says likewise, was also a convocation or a Mikra.
This shows us the incredible accuracy of prophecy, because Jesus could only be crucified in a year where the Passover fell on Friday, and he would only be 3 days in the grave.
Amen.
And that was prophesied all those years before.
In here.
Yeah.
And as I've looked at it, I've gone, this is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And there's more, like if you go back, and we haven't got time, but you go into Exodus when the plagues are falling, what crops were destroyed by the hail? The barley and the flax, because they were come to ear. The wheat and the other crops that came up later, they didn't get destroyed.
What does that mean?
Sorry?
What does that mean?
It's just giving us the timing. We can see very clearly what was happening. It gives us a bit, there's more information here to actually see. This is the time that God has appointed.
So it would be disrespectful to eat the first fruits of that crop, or the barley, before you wait to the Lord, who is the first fruit.
Yes, that's right. That's what the symbolism is teaching.
Yeah.
And likewise, when you sit down to eat a meal, what do? Do you wave a sheaf of first fruits before the Lord? Do you ask God for His blessing? I mean, whether we take some of these things to literal, that's another subject, okay? That's not what we're looking at. We're trying to understand the calendar, okay? That may be another discussion. So let's move on. We've got a bit more work to do, and we're nearly out of time. So, verse 15, and ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the, what? Shabbat. From the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7, what is it? Shabbats. Okay, I've got a question. If for whatever reason we regard that we start counting after the Mikra, after today, right? If you start counting after then, how do you arrive at this time?
That's what I was confused with, actually.
Because if it's 7, okay, so like we've got this one today, then we've got the 7th day Sabbath, and then we've got another one at the end, right?
Which one do you use?
And then you've got others, that doesn't have, and then you add 1 day, that's not going to come up to 50 days.
No, it's not.
Do you see the problem? So there's, and it's being consistent, and you can say, well, can we just count them as weeks? Well, that's not what that's not what it's telling us. Yes, the Sabbath is linked to a week in the sense of every 7 days, but to call any other day a Shabbat, that is not right, is it?
No.
So that's why we've stopped and looked at this and gone, oh, okay, we've got more to learn here. There's more here to learn. The full significance of it, maybe we haven't learned yet either, but let's go back and look at this carefully and consider it and help us understand why our Father is wanting to show us this.
So what you're saying is God doesn't use words arbitrarily.
No. And that applies everywhere, doesn't it, in the Bible? No, it's not wasted. There's a reason for it. Okay, so here we are, verse 16. I don't know if we read that. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath, or Shabbat, ye shall number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. Okay, so after this, and this is what we call Pentecost, okay? And it means weeks. 7 weeks plus 1 gives us 50.
And it's always on a Sunday.
Yes, this is what we're coming to see. Yeah. Always will, if what we're looking at, if this is true, it will always has to fall on a Sunday. It has to.
It connects with Sunday and the wave fruits in the resurrection.
It connects beautifully with Okay, so let's move down to verse 21. We need to do a bit of work here. So this is still talking about the Pentecost, or the what's it called? The Jewish Festival of Weeks, but yeah, whatever the weeks. Shabbat, I think it is. Yeah.
That's the
Thank
one.
you. Verse 21, and you shall proclaim on the self same day, and the word that is supplied, it may be a holy what?
Mikra.
Thank you. It's not a holy Shabbat. It's a holy Mikra.
So that Sunday is a holy convocation.
It's a holy convocation, but the day before it is a Shabbat. Okay? And it says, verse 22, and you shall reap the harvest of your land, and thou shalt not make clean, completely clean the corners. Let's not spend a lot of time here. But this is, and we know in the story of Ruth, right? This is all portrayed here in the story of what happened. Okay? So there's provision made. So let's go to verse 24. We need to look at this. Okay. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first of the month, or the first of the what? The new moon, shall you have a Sabbath. Now, this is a very interesting word. What is this word?
Sabbaton.
Ah. So the blowing of the trumpets is not what? A holy convocation. It is a Shabbaton. It's a rest. Why? Why do this to us? We're just getting used to 2 words. Now we have 3 words.
Is it not both? Is it not both though? Because it goes on to say.
It does. It does. But I'm just trying to help you realise when we've translated it, they all end up to us. They look the same, but there are differences. And I want you to realise there are differences. It's a memorial, a blowing of trumpets. It'll be a holy convocation, a holy mikra. It's a rest, okay?
Because it's such a special day, because it's symbolising.
It's the preparing for a very special day that is coming. And this is I want to, if anything, I want to finish off on this next section.
Craig, just before you move, a holy convocation means you can do some work.
You can do the things that are necessary, right?
But when it says a rest and a holy convocation.
No, I think it means when it's a Shabbaton and a rest, it's saying you do no work whatsoever.
Okay, but this one's a Sabbaton and a Mikra.
Yes.
So a Sabbaton and a Mikra together, you do no work at all?
I don't understand. I don't believe so. I believe that you can do servile work.
It just says no servile work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the difference then between this one and one of those others where it's not a rest, but it's just a mikra and there's no servile work? What's the difference in your work?
I don't fully understand that. I don't know if it's that's telling us that. It's just emphasising this is a rest and a convocation. I'm not sure. Let's look at this next passage. It's in we want to go to verse 27. This might help explain some of this, okay? So it says, also on the 10th of this 7th new moon, okay? So do you see why it's so important to get the beginning of the year right?
Yeah.
If we don't get the beginning right, we're not going to get any of this right. Okay? That's why we've spent a bit of time here. Okay, so on the 10th day of the 7th new moon, a day of atonement. It shall be a holy, what? Mikra. Okay. So you understand that? I'm going to confuse you now, so pay attention. Pay a lot of attention here. This is not what you think it is.
This is 3 in 1.
This is something else. Okay? Leave that out of this. Okay? It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. and ye shall do no work in that same day. It doesn't say no servile work, it says no work. Okay?
What's the difference?
Okay, let's look on. For it is, or it's a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God. Okay, and then it goes on, and without reading it all.
32.
It is 32, yeah, that's what I'm going. Haven't quite got there. It and the shall be is supplied unto you a what?
Shabbat Shabbaton.
Shabbaton. So when he first mentions it, he says it's a mikra. And then he says it is a day where you'll do no servile work. No work.
No work.
Yeah, no work at all. And then he comes along and he says it is a Shabbaton. So this day is not necessarily going to fall on a seventh-day Sabbath. But this day is regarded by the Lord as a Shabbaton, and a mikra. They're all here. This is a very important day.
It was made equal with its father.
It was. Source and channel. So have we confused you?
No. Is there any other day besides the atonement that is called Shabbat that's not simply Sabbath?
I don't believe so, but I haven't been absolutely fully extensive. I've looked.
No, there's not.
Yeah, Adrian's obviously looked more closely, but I've been looking and I haven't found it yet.
So why in the book of Acts does Paul call it fast? He says the fast was past, and so I went to Philippi somewhere. So I'm just trying to find where in the Bible it says to fast on this day. Also,
Yeah, again, I don't know, but it was a custom of the Jews. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying it was a custom of the Jews. Whether
interpretation of afflict your soul.
Afflict your soul can be taken from that. Yeah, but likewise, yeah.
Craig, Helen had a question before
Sorry, Helen.
about what's the difference between servile work and no work?
No work, okay.
The word of work and servile work.
Okay, my understanding of no work means that we're meant to have our food prepared for the Sabbath. Right? They weren't meant to light a fire. It was all meant to be done.
But what's servile mean?
Servile work, I understand, is providing the necessities for your daily life, but not going out and working in the field.
Definition of it is work of any kind.
Servile.
I'm thinking, wait a minute, in the book of Exodus I've read this morning, it says, you may
serve
prepare as much food as you need.
Yes.
You don't go handing a box of tomatoes.
No.
Make what you've got
To eat today, yeah. If you need to prepare food, if you need to do what's needed, there's provision for that on a convocation, on a mikra. But again, it's just trying to bring to our minds that there's a distinction. I don't fully understand it. This is something you're going to have to keep looking at. We're all going to have to keep studying. I'm just trying to give you the calendar at the moment, okay?
Shabbat and Shabbaton are the same word, one's Hebrew, one's Greek.
No. It actually that's what it is actually in the Hebrews, right? The Shabbaton.
Yeah.
It isn't actually. It is used as it's a Hebrew word, and this is it here.
What's the difference between Shabbat and Shabbaton? And I'm blown away here.
Okay, let me pull it up for you.
Craig, just cross off the Greek, and also I put the word only because that's what my phone said above Shabbaton, but I can see it now.
Yeah, Shabbaton in the Greek also is for the seventh-day Sabbath.
Shabbaton occurs in the Hebrew a couple of times,
Yeah.
not just those. And it's Greek, and like you said, it's even for the seventh-day Sabbath, it says Shabbat, Shabbaton. So it's the two words together usually. Well,
Yeah.
not usually, but
But it is in places that they're together.
My understanding of the difference between Shabbat and Shabbaton is the Shabbat is the time, the Shabbaton is the experience.
Yes.
The Shabbat is the when, the Shabbaton is the what.
Can I share something there just briefly? I don't know the answer to that. That's interesting, Adrian. It'd be really interesting to look that up. But where my head goes is to look into the Hebrew, and until we are Hebrew scholars, I guess we don't know. But it's interesting because Shabbat is Shin Beit Tav, and Shabbaton is the same, Shabbat, with a Yud Nun on the end. So I guess the question is going to be, what does this mean? It's interesting, my name in Hebrew, Shimon, is Shema Yisrael, here, with a Yud and a Nun on the end, exactly the same. So I just wonder, what does this mean? And if we got to the bottom of that, that would explain this word a bit. Maybe you can tell me about my
we will be looking forward to finding out more. So, yes.
A question. So, how do we know we've got our dates right today? Because none of us here have looked, have they, at when the harvest became right.
I think we have.
Have we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're doing our best, Tony.
Sorry? How do you find it out, Adrian? You can go online and actually they do the crop reports from.
There's some Karaite Jews in Israel that they survey 5 locations within Israel, and sometimes they have to go into places where they can come under rocket fire, so it's a life and death thing. So we pray for them that they can get these reports, and then they'll bring back the report, and we can get that information. Which
It doesn't have to be from the Kidron Valley.
I think that's one of the places they go.
Yeah.
But they survey all the different places, 5 locations in. That's the Karaite system. So
it makes it difficult to plan in advance, doesn't it?
For Passover.
For Passover it does, but once that date is set, then it's we know the rest of the year.
So when we set the date for Passover, I did sweat a little bit until the report came in. Like, oh, thank you, Lord. Yeah. Otherwise, we'd have to come back next month. Yeah.
Sorry, Danny.
Good again.
How long before Passover did you know? And also, the first and the last day of Passover you cannot work, but in the middle you can work? Understanding?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There can be more work, yeah. Or the Sabbath day. But how long before? Well, normally, as they were coming to the end, near the ending of the month, if the crop is not coming into ear, right, they know that it won't be ready for harvest. So then it will be put out another month off.
It's not that long before.
It's not long at all.
Well, couldn't you, if it was coming right really early in the month, though, and just after new moon, then you would know in advance?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
right?
Depends when it comes.
Okay.
If it comes just after the last new moon, you've got all that time.
Yeah.
If it comes just before the next new moon, you've only got about 16 days.
So how are we doing this year? When is Pentecost? According to what?
June 4.
Okay, because I saw that on the calendars, that the Jewish calendars are saying May 31.
So, some of them are saying May 31.
I've seen quite a few.
Okay.
But some of them are working from here as well.
I think so.
Yeah, and again.
Correct.
Yeah. So there's
They're
differences
working.
even among the Jews of how to calculate.
Yeah, they fight about it. We're being friendly.
Yeah.
Yes, Debbie.
I found a verse about what to do on those days, the Holy Convocation days. No manner of work shall be done on them, but that which everyone must eat. Only may be prepared by you. Where is that? Exodus 12:16.
Yes, I do remember reading it. Yes. 12:16, Exodus. Well, hopefully I've confused you enough and you'll go home and study this.
I'll do some more tonight. I'll do some more tonight.
Yeah. Anyway, Adrian said he'll fill in the gaps, okay? So
Try to.
Repair of the breach.
But it's interesting, isn't it, how much detail is in these verses which we aren't aware of because of a language change.
So you mean it lost something in the translation?
Well, it's there. It's just not revealed. It's been hidden. And I believe it's the same with prophecy. It's there, but it's been hidden in the sense of God wants us to dig and study and learn for ourselves. Search and you'll find. Ask and you'll seek and you'll find. Ask and you'll receive. Okay, so can we close up? We're well overdue. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. No, it was good. We love it. We need to get it out. We can't just stop on school.
Yeah.
So no one's going to complain about a late lunch.
No one's complaining.
No.
Anyway, let's invite you to, if you can kneel, let's kneel and close with prayer. Father in heaven, it's with a grateful heart that we come before you, acknowledging, Father, our need of your precious gift to us and your beloved Son. And as we've been looking today, Father, at your appointed times, that these seasons of refreshing that you've appointed to come close to your people, as we've been wrestling, Father, to try to understand the differences, the complications that are in our minds. We ask, Father, that you'll make these simple for us. Father, we want to please you. We desire, Father, to present ourselves as a living sacrifice before you. And Father, we just pray that you'll continue to teach us. May we have an open heart to learn and to receive the direction and instruction you want us to receive. I pray, Father, that we'll listen to one another. Even though we might not agree, Father, on everything, we just pray that we'll listen. And by listening and considering one another, we'll grow. And that we will receive the blessing you want us to receive. And we thank you for this time in Jesus' name.
Amen.